process. Allow your body to naturally replicate the joy, and only the joy, that are the words that are coming out of your mouth. Love and appreciate your body. Speak often of how tactile and how wonderful your body moves. Speak often of how you feel well, that you have an inordinate sense of well-being. Then your mind says, okay, he's all screwed up, he's 109 years old, and he looks like Jack LaLanne. Oh, wait, that might be an example there now, mightn't it be? You come into a place where you allow your body to do what it's always been willing to do for you.
You're listening to AchieveRadio.com. A new drummer for a new awakening.
Welcome, everybody, to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. This is Ginny Gunther, also known as Ginny Almighty, and I'll be your host tonight, too, along with Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Phone lines are now open at 602-666-6027. That's 602-666-6027.
We'll be taking your phone calls from around the world and right here in the U.S. Welcome, everybody. It's Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? I'm not showing up. Okay, very good. Okay, hello. Okay, everybody. I wasn't having the thing happening, so I didn't know. Welcome, everybody. This is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Thanks for tuning in tonight here in the U.S. and around the world. Happy to have you with us for another 2 hours of great content, information, and all kinds of tips and tricks on how to use magnesium, mineral, amino acids, and our other formulas to your benefit and for your joy so that your body can perform its function perfectly and effortlessly and bring you lots and lots of relief and pleasure and fun and all kinds of other great things. Before we bring Dr. Dean on the radio to talk for the next 2 hours, answering your questions and taking live callers, I just want to point out that not only is Dr. Dean a medical doctor, but she is also a naturopath, an herbalist, an acupuncturist, a nutritionist, a lecturer, a consultant, and an author, having been in the forefront of health issues for over 35 years, being one of the very first people to ever speak out about the effects of sugar consumption on the body, talking consistently and repeatedly and very thoroughly and practically about how to address the issues of candida, yeast toxins in the body, healthy bowel, gut, and of course, her number one passion, the use of magnesium, and also the RNA drops. So much to talk about tonight. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Yes, thank you, Ginny, and thank you for all that you do. I know we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Ginny. That's all I can say. I've been talking the same stuff for 40 years until Ginny came along. It didn't matter. Nothing happened until Ginny came, and now here we are.
Here we are. Well, that's very generous for you to say those words, but let's get back to the truth. No, I'm just kidding. But, hey, listen, I read this every week about you being a naturopath, an herbalist, and acupuncturist, but, honestly, today is the first day I kind of zoned in on acupuncture. So you do acupuncture.
Yeah. Bob talked about this on payday, actually, the other day. What happened was in my third year, I don't even know, my fourth year maybe.
1975.
1975. Was it my fourth year or third year?
First and second year you got into it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And I did just intellectually in acupuncture, and I learned that there were two doctors in the city of Halifax practicing acupuncture. One was a Chinese medical doctor who's an anesthesiologist doing it. I said he would anesthetize and maybe partly harm all these people during the morning surgeries, and then in the afternoon he would assuage his guilt by doing acupuncture and really helping people with pain, chronic headaches, and various basic pain syndromes. And then there was another doctor, a British doctor, a real uptight guy who somehow learned acupuncture, and he was just, I didn't want to even approach him, so I approached the Chinese doctor and asked him if I could do an elective. So I learned a little bit. There weren't books, there wasn't much to study, so I just watched him. And then in my third or fourth year, that's what I was trying to get Bob to help me with. We moved out of Halifax because Bob wanted to work with Marshall McLuhan. So I get a transfer up to Hamilton, Ontario, which is an hour from Toronto. They wouldn't let me into University of Toronto because no one had ever transferred from one medical school to another. It just was unheard of. But the Hamilton medical school called McMaster, they had been doing a self-study medical program for a couple of years. And what that meant was instead of having rigid exams and lectures, they had small study groups, and students would sit around in groups of 6 and study the different organ systems or whatever. I mean, I suppose the curriculum was similar to what I got in Dalhousie, but there were no exams. So what happened, I guess it was
that was your fourth year.
It was fourth year. I was just going to say that. Yeah, it would have been at the end of third year, because in third year in Dalhousie, we had to write fourth-year American boards in order to pass our third year. So we were a year ahead. I went to the toughest medical school there was, and that meant when I got to McMaster for my fourth year, which was an total hospital experience. We were called clinical clerks. We were in the hospitals, from morning till night, doing hands-on. And what happened at McMaster is because nobody had done exams, and by the end of this fourth clerkship year, we were supposed to write Canadian medical boards. Everybody at McMaster was totally freaked out because they didn't know how to do medical testing. So they spent all their time studying. We're not hanging out in the hospitals. I was the only clerk in the hospitals. So I did so much in the hospitals. After a while, they thought I was an intern. Then they thought I was a resident, because how you learn in medical training in the hospital setting was you see one procedure, do the procedure the next time, the third time you teach it. So I was doing everything. So by the time I hit my internship, which was at Mount Sinai in Toronto the next year, I was functioning at the level of a resident. So it was easy for me. By the end of my internship year, out of 100 students, I was the only one that left my internship to go into private practice. Everybody else stayed on in specialties. And what happened, backtracking to McMaster again, we had 2 months of electives in the midst of our year of clerkship. And I heard about the the pain control clinic in Los Angeles. I'd read it in Prevention magazine. So I thought, oh my gosh, I really have to go there. And they were doing acupuncture and hypnosis and nutrition and all the good things for chronic disease that I was interested in studying. And of course, the director of the clinic, Dr. David Breschler, he refused me. I don't know how many times he refused me to come, and I kept writing and even phoning at great expense, long distance back there in the mid 70s or the late 70s, and finally in one of the conversations with Dr. Breschler, I found out we had the same birthday, and I said, okay, that's it. You have to let me come. So he did. So I had a great experience. The practitioners who were doing acupuncture there, where were they from, Bob? What country?
I don't know, Japan, Korea?
Maybe Korea.
And this was at UCLA?
At UCLA, Pain Control Clinic. And they were very reluctant. I mean, if Dr. Breschler was reluctant, they said, no, we don't do students. Forget about it. So I was just going to stand there and watch them. And then what I started doing, I don't know if I could see the acupuncture meridians or just see where the points were supposed to go. Somehow, something clicked in me, and I'd be standing back there just sort of with my finger, running along the line, imaginary line of the person's body, and just sort of point at the next acupuncture point they were going to use. So they said, okay, she knows what to do. So they started teaching me, and from there I just I probably read books. I did take along the way. There were certain medical acupuncture courses, but they weren't anything compared with the time I would spend with acupuncturists when I get back to Toronto.
Hey, Carol.
Yeah.
At UCLA, you treated Aldous Huxley's widow.
Yeah. Laura Huxley came in as a patient, and I became her go-to person. So, yeah, I had some incredible experiences. And back then, mainly, as I said, it was you were apprenticing, and you were right there immediately with patients, and you didn't really go through the book knowledge, and it wasn't academic. It was hands-on. So that was my acupuncture training. I don't do it anymore because I don't have a clinic, but, if Bob needs something, I'm right there with the needles. Bob loves to be poked. So that's my acupuncture experience. Thank you for asking.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, learn something new every single week on Dr. Dean's show, ladies and gentlemen, and that is for sure. Very cool. Well, Carolyn, I sent you the little blog tonight, and basically what I said where our topic is going to be is how to use our products, because that's what we end up talking about a lot on our show, is how to use the products. And I went through the emails we got at customer support last week, which I want to do, and noticed that most of the people were once again asking how to adjust their dose. When do they know enough is enough? When they, start feeling better, how do they cut back? And also, what is the purpose of some of our other products like the Realign? What are some of the hidden benefits and that kind of thing? So we can review that. And then also you've got great blogs this week. I mean, incredible traffic on the blogs that you wrote this week. So let's do a review of those things too, and then we'll take our callers and look at our mailbag and all the rest.
Okay, that sounds great, Ginny. Yes, we do give people in the Remag and Remite books, and Ginny has product inserts, and we do talk about it a lot, how to take the products, but it seems that it doesn't really strike people until they're up close and personal with the products, and they want reassurance about exactly how they take them themselves. And I'll just go through it, and Ginny, interrupt me if you feel you need more explanation for your people, and chime in if you find that a certain topic that I'm going over is one that people while waiting for your complement formulas to arrive, begin hydrating your body by increasing your water intake and adding salt or Himalayan salt. And that can be Celtic salt. In Hawaii, we have this interesting reddish salt. Just about anywhere in the world that's near an ocean, they have their own salt. So it's sea salt from the sea. And the water guidelines is measure your body weight in pounds, cut that in half, and use that amount in ounces of water per day. If you weigh 150 pounds, you drink 75 ounces. And then with the salt, you add 1/4 to a half teaspoon to every quart or liter of drinking water. And if you end up drinking 3 quarts of water a day, just put your Remag and Remite in one of those salted water quarts and sip that through the day. And the reason why I tell people not to dilute their Remag and Remite in all 3 quarts is if you don't get the 3rd quart down by the end of the day, if something comes up. You don't want to be missing your Remag and Remite. So if you're drinking any water through the day, make it your Remag and Remite bottle. Now, something just came in today from a sweet customer of ours, and she said, how about seaweed? You know, she told me, and this is actually, let me tell you her story. She said that, maybe if I spelled it right, I would be able to find it here. Okay. She said, speaking about minerals, I found something that many of your loyal listeners would benefit greatly from. You live in Maui, and I imagine you have as much seaweed as you need, but most people don't. And she said, here is a link to some wonderful stuff that you may want to explore before you recommend it. I've been taking it now for a couple of months, just sprinkling it on my food, all 3 meals, and I have remarkable benefits for an almost 85-year-old woman. Skin, hair, and nails are in great shape. My hair even has a little dark color in it. My nails grow fast, and best of all, my skin is in good shape. If I get a little kitchen cut, the skin heals in days instead of weeks. And the site she's talking about is seaveg.com, SEAVEG.com. On the left side, scroll down to Kelp Blends. 1 pound of this wonderful dried seaweed is only $18 plus shipping and lasts a long time. P.S. I cannot go without your Remag. The seaweed is an adjunct to this great product that I cannot do without. Not a plug, it's true. Now, I thought that was really sweet, and this is how I learn things and get information. So I was happy to hear this and happy to pass it along because it is hard to find good seaweeds, and this looks like a good one. I do admit that I haven't tried it now yet, but for years I've tried various types of seaweeds, and to me they're all very, very strong. But I think I'm going to like she says, sprinkle it on my meals, not my oatmeal, but probably my salads. And I think it's a great adjunct. I'll have to ask her if she's taking Remite, because Remite is what I use as a multiple mineral, of course, along with the sea salt. But I think the seaweed would be helpful. What do you think, Ginny? Do you have people asking you about seaweeds?
They do just ask if they can take seaweed, or they eat a lot of seaweed, and can they do that in exchange for the pink Himalayan salt. So they think that it has the same properties. So I don't think that that's necessarily the case. Do you?
No, what concerns me about seaweeds is that we really don't know Oops. I'm trying to avoid the crazy hedge trimmers right now. I don't know if you can hear that sound. Man, the buzz. There's a buzz. Monday in Maui. With seaweed, we don't know the source. We don't know how much of anything you're getting. They do have an amount of iodine that they say their seaweeds have, but with the remite, we know exactly how much you're getting, and we can adjust. So I would just add some seaweed, because I know for therapeutic amounts of seaweed, you'd probably have to take a lot, and for me, that would make me gag. I'm just going to use the seaweed as a little extra. So I'd stay with the sea salted water and do your remag and remite. So that's number one of our complement formula protocol. Number two, what I say is when your products arrive, begin Realign capsules. And I know full well that most people start the complement formulas with remag because that's how they come to our website. We call remag our gateway drug, which opens a gate to people to look at our other products, and they've read the Magnesium Miracle book or heard about us, and they start with remag. But the way that complicated cases and ill people can begin is with the Realign, because Realign is the product that has the 2 sulfur-based amino acids. The precursor to glutathione is L-methionine. The sulfur molecules in those amino acids are very important in the detoxification pathways. The other thing that's very important in detoxification is methylated B vitamins, and we have 4 of those in the Realign. So it's really quite a unique product. Most supplements that have methionine just have methionine, or just have taurine, or just have some methylated Bs. So we've combined all 3, and kept the price at just kind of one of those products, and given people something that's very helpful for assisting in detoxing and what we say is taking out the trash. And some of the testimonials we've gotten on this product are people can take alcohol that they usually can't metabolize it well enough. They limit their alcohol intake, which I do agree with. But what happens with the Realign is even a breathalyzer level will not become elevated if you take a 2 or 3 Realign while you're ingesting alcohol. And that might be something useful for people in the holiday season when you're just not going to avoid it, but you want to be comfortable. And I'd like to hear people's feedback on that, their reaction to the Realign in those circumstances. So that's our Realign.
Carolyn, can I just say that with the Realign too, when we found out about the blood sugar alcohol thing and everything, and then we found out about what happened when people took Realign, what I think is so compelling about that is that it really does support the position on acetaldehyde, which is really what a lot of people struggle with in the body, especially with processed sugars, fructose, and candida. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, good point. When you have an overgrowth of yeast in the body, which 80% of people seem to have, the breakdown products of yeast include alcohols and aldehyde, acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is called the hangover chemical in alcohol, and people who have a lot of yeast, they can have elevated blood alcohol levels just from yeast, not from ingesting alcohol. And just what I said about breaking down alcohol with Realign. If you have yeast that's creating alcohol or acetaldehyde, then your Realign is going to break that down and make you much more comfortable. Magnesium also has an effect in breaking down acetaldehyde, so the combination is pretty dramatic. So Realign detoxifies yeast toxins as well as heavy metals. The glutathione aspect of Realign is the major antioxidant and detoxifier in the body. You can't get it orally. Glutathione just completely breaks down as it passes through the liver once you swallow it. We used to have to just use intravenous glutathione on the autistic children who needed to detoxify their heavy metals, but what we do with the Realign is by giving the precursor amino acid for glutathione, you make it yourself when your body needs it. You just have the building block there ready to go. And it's not a forced detoxification. It's a detoxification that your body has control of because, as we all know, there are times when you don't want to detoxify. Your body just doesn't have the strength. So if you just have the building blocks ready, your body will detoxify when that's the next priority of the body. Anything else?
And also, yeah, can you explain the difference between a sulfur, like people think there's sulfur in Realign versus the sulfur-based amino acid, and is it an issue because of the quote-unquote sulfur content for people who are sensitive to sulfur?
Well, the way I answer that, it's like the sulfur in a food. There's sulfur in eggs. There's sulfur in some of the vegetables. You can just Google sulfur in food and find a whole list of the sulfur in food. I mean, maybe there's some people who are extremely sensitive to sulfur in food, and you would know that by now. You would know what foods aren't good for you. And even in that case, you know, this extreme sensitivity to foods, we're finding people are less and less sensitive when they have the right building blocks, when they get a bit of detox going, when they slowly increase their good nutrients as they do with the complement formulas. So the sulfur in taurine and methionine is a food-based sulfur. It's not an added sulfur, and it doesn't affect people the way taking a sulfur supplement would. I don't know if that gives enough of an answer. Is that helpful, Jenny?
Oh, yes. No, that's very good. Yes, very good. And you have talked about the MTHFR thing before. We have a great archive on that if anybody's interested in hearing it, about the whole issue of this this gene mutation business or whatever. And we don't have to go into that now, Carolyn, if you don't want to. But if people are interested, they can email it and listen to your previous comments about it. But Realign is just such a valuable product. I always say it's like giving your liver a big hug, and I can't imagine, you know, doing without it. I mean, the liver's just so overlooked, and also the spleen, and they're very important, and the Realign supports them both beautifully.
Right, and just quickly about MTHFR, it's a gene that instructs an enzyme called, MTHFR is a reductase, methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. That's why they call it MTHFR. And so this gene supposedly has been mutated by what? We don't know medically, but we know naturopathically, or we know in terms of mineral metabolism. If you don't have enough magnesium, your MTHFR gene can express its mutation. And what this enzyme is supposed to do is process amino acids and make them available to build proteins. And it started to supposedly come to the surface when gene researchers started discovering all these gene mutations when they were doing the Genome Project, and to me, it's frustrating to me because everybody's getting sidetracked into gene mutations instead of looking at the fact that genes just sit there and get triggered or turned on or off by the epigenetics, the environment around the genes, and the environment around the genes includes vitamins and minerals. So I just keep telling people, take your complement formulas, take your Remag and your Remite, so you get all those mineral cofactors that will keep your genes happy so they won't mutate. And that's very simplistic, I know, and people, I'm sure get annoyed with me for trying to be simplistic about what they think is a genetic disorder, but it's better than sitting there with a genetic disorder and thinking there's nothing you can do about it. And
the other thing, Carolyn, was that when it was talking, one of the things that you brought up previously was that these methylation pathways are also inhibited by Candida toxin.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we've talked about that before. So yes, you're right, Ginny. Let's remind people that we do have archives on the MTHFR so they can learn more about it, and it does go back to remineralize your body and get rid of your yeast overgrowth, and your body then will be able to kind of climb its way out of all that toxicity and start making more perfect cells. And we'll get to that with the RNA drops. So after then your water intake, your sea salt, maybe a bit of seaweed, taking your Realign, then you start your Remag. And you start with a quarter teaspoon per day in a quart of salted water and sip it through the day. And every 2 days you add another quarter teaspoon, working up to a therapeutic dose of 2 to 3 teaspoons a day if you're trying to overcome a health condition or if you're on medication or otherwise have magnesium deficiency symptoms. And along with that, we tell people to read the Remag book called Invisible Minerals Part 1, and that gives you the instructions again on taking it, reinforces why you're taking it, and all the symptoms of magnesium deficiency. And the reason why Remag is so important and why I had to work to create it is because it's 100% absorbed at the cellular level. It does not cause a laxative effect, and people who've been forced to take intravenous magnesium because they have such severe magnesium deficiency, but they can't take it by mouth because they get diarrhea, they can actually get off their IV magnesium and take Remag and sip it every day, and they don't have to go through the huge overload of magnesium with their intravenous treatment, and then the next couple of days watch their magnesium plummet and then develop all their symptoms over and over again. So it's very therapeutic. It is the best magnesium on the market, and certainly the least expensive. So Remag, when I developed that for my own health condition, because I had heart palpitations and leg cramps and also had diarrhea, just like I was describing, then I decided the same process of stabilizing the mineral ions for better cellular absorption. I put that to work and I had a chemist create Remite. So in our guidelines, we say after a week of slowly building up your Remag, slowly add Remite into the same quart of water and sip throughout the day. And you start with a quarter teaspoon. Every 2 days, add another quarter teaspoon. Work up to 1.5 to 2 teaspoons. And then to reinforce what you're doing, read the Remite book called Invisible Minerals Part 2. Now, people do ask, well, how long do I stay on the therapeutic doses? With Remite, I don't go much higher than 2 teaspoons a day. There are so many minerals in there. There are 12 minerals. I don't want to force high doses of all the minerals just to try to get one high for a short period of time. I'd rather people just take the 1.5 to 2 teaspoons on a daily basis and just let their level slowly build up. And I would not go below 1.5 teaspoons. I just stay around that range. With Remag, it is different because magnesium is needed for 700 to 800 different enzyme systems in the body. It's busy, and you need a fair bit of it. And the amount we used to get 100 years ago, we were getting about 500 milligrams in our diet, and now we're lucky to get 200, so we really do need to supplement. And every time you have something that burns off your magnesium, like stress or night shift or being on medications or recent surgery or yeast overgrowth, anytime you have extra burn on your magnesium, you need to take more. And if you are taking too much, you will get the laxative effect. So you know you're safe in taking therapeutic amounts. But what I will say is if you're just taking Remag and trying to treat all your symptoms with Remag, you may find that you're medicating other mineral deficiencies by taking more and more Remag. So I definitely remind people to get on their Remite. I know I was able to drop a teaspoon of my daily Remag when I did my Remite, and you know, as I've said ad nauseum, after 6-8 weeks of taking Remite, I was able to drop my Armour thyroid. So I know it does have therapeutic effects on the hormones. And I'll ask Ginny, anything on Remite to add?
Nope, those are perfect words. Nope, perfect.
And now we come to RNA drops, and I'm saying in the guidelines after 2 weeks of Realign, Remag, and Remite, add RNA drops. The dosage is 1 drop under the tongue twice a day, adding 1 to 2 drops every week until you reach 10 drops twice a day. And we do have to say here, though, that people can start with the RNA drops. You can start with any of them, but in this way, you slowly build your body up with the minerals, your detox, you're cleaning out the trash, and then you're letting the RNA drops working through chromosome 14 on the RNA level. They affect the DNA to make more perfect replication of the cells. You're looking for more perfect cells, and more of your DNA strands are exposed and available. The RNA drops, they are difficult to describe. We go by our testimonials. We don't make any claims for them, but we do know from people taking them that they have been invaluable to many people for their chronic health conditions. And we have many testimonials that Ginny can direct you to.
And you can see the picture of the eye cell, which is the core of them, on the RNA Reset site.
Correct. On the RNA drops a description and picture, it'll direct you to click on a link to see the picture of these unique eye cells that they're created by growing barley sprouts. And barley you may think of as a gluten product, but when we do the very fine-tuned ELISA testing of the RNA drops, they turn up negative for gluten, so it's a non-gluten product.
And Carolyn, you should mention Do not eat food close to the drops. Give it a 15-minute space. That's not really said much.
Right. Yes. We have people even now who've been taking the products for years, saying, "Hey, can I mix my Remag and Remite and RNA drops together in water and then swallow my Realign with it?" Well, you can do the Remag, Remite together in water and sea salted water, and then swallow your Realign capsules, but you take your RNA drops separately, and you try to squirt the drops under your tongue. Bob goes into the bathroom and looks at his tongue under the mirror. Looks under his tongue at the mirror, but actually you don't do that anymore, do you, Bob?
Nope.
You just pour a whole tablespoon of it into a spoon and puts that in his mouth and holds it for a while. So
15 minutes space between the drops and eating anything.
Right. Yeah, and what that does, it's not a homeopathic, but it gives the mouth and the body the clean surface to absorb the frequency of the RNA drops. And there's much more to it. So what have I left out, Ginny, that you can add?
I think that's great beginning information, Carolyn, for people to start with the drops and the complement formulas, how they all interact together. And then Susanna also asked Carolyn on the InQuick, once you've reached saturation with Remag, will the cells completely deplete if you skip your Remag for a day?
They won't deplete. You'll have enough stored in your bones and your muscles that the body will drag that out and you'll be able to utilize it. But I know myself, if I skip a whole day, then I do get my symptoms back. I am a person who really metabolizes their magnesium very quickly. So it is like food, and you don't skip your food for a whole day. Don't skip your magnesium for a whole day. You have to take it every day.
Very good. And also, when going through that whole protocol, Carolyn, I know we have a lot of people, Angela on the InQuick message asked, how does this help for severe Levaquin? Is that how we say that? Levaquin toxicity reaction? I started using your products. Levaquin, there we go. And is that the same as Cipro?
It is a quinolone antibiotic. It's not the actual same drug, but it has the fluoride in it, so people get their Levaquin toxicity the same way. When I look it up, and the long form is called levofloxacin, it does have the one fluoride molecule like Cipro. And in terms of how the product guidelines relate to specific conditions is everybody is an individual and may need more or less. When people come to us with toxicity, sometimes their body's so sensitive they have to start very slowly with the products, and sometimes that's not the case. When people email me and they say, oh my gosh, I just took a week of Cipro, I just finished my last one, I started to get aches and pains, I looked it up and see that I'm probably poisoned, what do I do? Well, I get them to overnight the Remag and start in, 2 teaspoons a day and work up to 4 teaspoons. And if I can catch people really quickly, they do recover a lot quicker. But when people go on for months and months, maybe having had several doses of Cipro or Levaquin, then it is harder. There is damage. So I can't write protocols for everybody. We do try to individualize in the sense of, we tell people a range of the amount of Remag. Some people are up to 6 teaspoons for their various conditions, and the guideline there is if you have too much, then you are going to get diarrhea, and your body is going to release what you don't need. It's a fail-safe of the product. Back to you.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, very good. Carolyn, gosh, that was fantastic. That's such a great primer. And also, we do have on our Facebook page a demonstration video done by one of our summer interns this summer showing how to make your Remag water. So if you need that information, you can email me at support@RNA Reset, or just go to our Facebook page. It's on the top of the page, and there's some more instruction for you there. So that was very
Ginny, just a second, Ginny. Ginny, did you do acupuncture on our little short person neighbor on Kenwood named Julie, Carolyn?
I don't know. I don't think so. Why?
She's on the chat line and mentions the needles and me, and you did acupuncture on her at some point, I guess. But I was wondering when she was little, did you do it?
I forget, but if she remembers me poking her, that's fun. And she probably saw you with needles all over you.
Yes.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, but you can edit that out of the protocol for. Bob doesn't understand editing and having a clean edit for. This is going to go somewhere, right? The complement formula protocol overview.
Yep, no problem. It was some great information, Carolyn. I really appreciate it. So excellent. Here we are live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. I know we have people on the line who are waiting to talk to Dr. Dean, waving their hands. You've already been perhaps called into the show previously, and you know to call 602-666-6027. When you come into the call bridge, you just hit *5 on your keypad. It raises your hand, and then we put you on the line with Dr. Dean. You can also use the quick messaging at Studio 8 at Achieve Radio. So let's just also, Carolyn, start to take a few phone calls, and then we'll review some of our inquicks and something at the top of the hour. How does that sound?
Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Phone callers will put you on the line in the order that you called in. So we're going to start with area code 212. 212, you're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, Dr. Dean. This is Stephanie Lee from NYC calling with 3 questions.
Okay, Stephanie, you're on.
First one, I have old Renew in the refrigerator. It's grown. It's expanded. I thought it was empty. And it has a slight smell to it. I've been using it anyway, but does that matter?
Well, as long as the smell isn't obnoxious, RNA drops and Renew do have an odor. We don't try to mask it, and as long as you feel comfortable with it, and it's it doesn't look like it's grown any mold. It shouldn't anyway. But
it's not mold. It's just grown. It's just grown. The empty bottle is grown. Yeah. It's not empty anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I would think it would be fine. You're smart enough that you know if it was too yucky to use.
I've been using it, but it does have a funny smell. But I've been using it. It hasn't done anything. I mean, I guess it's okay. Okay. Well, it's been in the refrigerator, but it amazes me because I put empty bottles to see if they'll grow. I put them in the refrigerator.
It's a live,
expanding.
Yeah, it's a living process, and it's we're at nearly 120 generations of the RNA drops, and the Renew is a concentrated form of the RNA drops, and it is pretty awesome. Okay, question number 2.
Realign turns my urine yellow, bright yellow. Does that mean I'm taking too much, or does it mean I'm not absorbing?
It's the B vitamins, the methylated B vitamins will turn the urine yellow. Some people say, oh, you're wasting them, but I say, well, at least that the bees are getting to your bladder and doing what they need to help heal your bladder. What I tell some people is, okay, try taking your Realign with a meal. I don't know if you're doing that, but with a meal, it'll slow down absorption, and maybe you'll hold on to more of it.
Okay, but it doesn't strain the kidneys because I've read that through the years too. When it's like bright yellow in your. Okay, thank you.
No.
Third question, third and final. I've listened always to what people say about thyroid, but what happened is I had just the basic thyroid panel done. And how does T4 converting to T3? I guess my TSH is very, very low. But I also have low T3 and low free T3. How does that work? Because then how can your TSH be really, really low? Do you understand my question? Yeah, I mean,
how much Remite are you on?
Like none right now.
Are you on any thyroid hormone?
Nope, never taken any, never had an issue. But, I mean, it was fascinating to me that only my T3 is low and everything else is within normal ranges. That's what I wondered.
Right. Well, the T3 is the active part. The T4 is bigger than the T3, obviously. And what happens to make the T4 into the T3 is you need selenium. So it implies that you're low in selenium.
Which is in Remite?
Which is in Remite, yeah.
Okay, that's all I need to know because that's all I needed to know because it's a conversion problem and you need selenium. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, Stephanie. Always quick and concise and good questions. Thanks, Steph.
Thank you, doctor.
Very good, very good. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. We will press on with more callers here this evening. Let's go to area code 732. 732, the great state of New Jersey. You're live with Dr. Dean. If you could state your name and then your question or comment.
Hi, Dr. Dean. It's Michael. I have a dear friend who has started on the completement formulas, the Relight, Remag, and drops in September, but she's also suffering from depression. And I suggested to her that she do a coffee enema to detox, as well as some clay orally. Do you think that's a good suggestion, considering her depression state?
I don't know anything about her situation, but I'd start with if it were me, I'd be taking more Remag first. Really get saturated with the magnesium to make sure there's nothing missing there, and look at the RNA drops. Do you know how many she's taking, Michael?
I would say she's probably taking about 12 during the day.
Right.
And
now, has she expressed any improvement with what she's been doing at this stage?
Yeah, there are times when she feels really, really good, and then there are times where she gets very upset, and she'll have a crying bout, and then she doesn't want to get out of bed. And it's so interesting because at times it's amazing how much energy she has, and at other times she just has a little energy. And like I said, she started on.
Go ahead. She started on
everything. I'd say in September. So.
Oh, September. It's not that long. Well, you know what it sounds like, Michael, when you're up and down like that? It sounds like some either food situation, problem with the sugar, gluten, or dairy, or maybe yeast overgrowth. Maybe when she drinks some alcohol, she'll get into some of the funkiness that alcohol can do. The fact that there are windows of times when she feels good and has good energy, that's very helpful. So what she has to do is keep a diary and find out what knocks her back. And that's what we need to know before doing too much else. Okay?
Okay, do you think, one other question, do you think she should do Remag until she, hits diarrhea and back off a little, and that would be her preferred amount?
Yeah, it's hard to know what people need to take. I tell people to only go up to 4 teaspoons, because usually 4 teaspoons, if you're taking your teaspoon and a half of Remite, it should be enough Remag. And if that's not enough, that's where I really cycle back and start looking for yeast overgrowth or food allergies.
And will the Remag take care of the yeast overgrowth? Do you recommend like coconut oil or anything of that nature?
Yeah, the Remag is just going to help with some of the yeast toxins, but a yeast program, you can find that on our DR Carolyn Dean Live radio show archive. Just put in yeast detox or Candida, and the whole protocol comes up. But it's basically starting with avoiding sugar, gluten, and dairy, which are the 3 big food allergies anyway. So you hit, two things with that diet. You hit the food allergies, and you start starving the yeast. And she should experience a shift if she's having problems with those food. So there's more to yeast than coconut oil will help because it's antifungal, but you've got to look at a diet, taking a probiotic, and the best one is Prescript Assist. It's under my resources, looking at natural antifungal foods and doing a yeast detox if the diet and probiotics and antifungal foods aren't enough.
Excellent. How glorious. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. You're a good friend.
Indeed. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. We're just coming up to the top of the hour, so we've got some other callers. Carolyn, I think I'd just like them to hold until we can go over to the top of the hour, and we'll pick up our calls on the other side. We have a couple questions on the InQuick that we can get to, one of which is Reggie typing in and saying, can RNA drops be used for gluten intolerance?
Well, people do tell us that they're gluten intolerant, but they take the RNA drops and they feel better, and all of a sudden I don't seem to be gluten intolerant. But we will never say it's a treatment for gluten intolerance.
Very good, very good. And also, do any of our products help with watery eyes?
That would be doing a saline eye cup rinse, putting 1 drop of RNA into an eye cup of saline. What watery eyes can be is just the little channel from your eye back into your sinuses is plugged up, and the RNA drops can help open that up.
Oh, very lovely.
I have a question.
All right.
We're at the break, Bob. We're at the break.
No, we got 30 seconds. Dan says, if I take too many RNA drops, will I end up like Bob? And he has a sad sign. He does not want to end up like me. I say, you will not end up like me, but you will learn to love and tolerate me more.
Love and tolerate. Very good, Bob. That's true. I agree. I concur.
See, Dan?
We'll be right back, everybody. Hang on through the top of the hour. We'll be right back.
You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
And that's the anomaly that the human creators get caught in the between stuff. Well, I'm here, and I don't like it here, so I want to go there. And they say, should we go there, yes or no? And we go, well, tell us about there. And they go, well, it's probably as rotten as this place is. Nobody loves me here, and nobody will probably love me there, and I don't have any money here, and I don't have any money there. And then we say, well, precisely. So that will more than likely be your experience in the new place also as well. But when you start describing how wonderful the place that you are now, and how wonderful it is now, and how full of this deliciousness of your world that you're enjoying right this second, and how you're ready for more, then guess what? It becomes the very typical, logical progression for you individually, because you get to say what shows up in your world or not. You understand, just because somebody sends you something in the mail doesn't mean you have to open it. You can leave it right in that box if you want to. But if they send it to you and you bring it into your house, then that's your choice, okay?
AchieveRadio.com.
We return now live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with your host, Ginny Gunther, here on AchieveRadio.com. Skype us at ar.call.in. That's ar.call.in.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com, and we're going to go back to our live callers. Dr. Dean, are you there, ready to take some phone calls?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Awesome. All right, very good. Let's go to area code 267 for the great state of Pennsylvania. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Did you say 215? Is that me?
I said,
hello?
Yes, it's you. Yes, it's you. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, Jenny. It's Kendall. Hi, Dr. Dean.
Hey, Kendall.
My name's Kendall. How are you?
Hello.
How are you both doing? So I just want to thank you for all. Mm-hmm.
No,
You're
go
doing
ahead.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to first start off thanking you for all the information that you provided about magnesium, because I've been suffering with this. I'm 37. I've been suffering with what I believe is a magnesium deficiency since I was like 19. It started like surfacing like with panic attacks, real bad panic attacks. I was housebound for like a year. I have children, and I was housebound, so my husband basically had to take care of me for a year. I was scared to leave the house because every time I left the house, my heart would start pounding. I would go back and forth to the doctors and the cardiologist and wound up in the emergency room because I couldn't stop the heart pounding thing. And they all would just want to prescribe me stuff, and I didn't want to go that route. So I went to some natural herb specialists, and they gave me stuff that kind of messed me up a little bit as well because it was too strong. And the long and short of it is, I realized after doing a lot of research that it had to be something that I was deficient in. And this the last 2 months, I had really bad palpitations to the point where I went to the emergency room 2 times. And they both times they said my magnesium and my potassium were a little low. They use the word a little. So the cardiologist said that basically I'm fine. I could run a marathon if I wanted to, and I need to just ignore the palpitations. But they feel like skip beats, like they scare me. So I'm like, I wouldn't dare run. I wouldn't dare do anything because I'm scared of it. So I need to, first master how to get rid of them. So I did wind up ordering the Remag. I've been taking that. And at first, my first initial thing, like the first day I took it, it felt like it eased up a little bit. I felt like I didn't have as many palpitations that day. But then the next day I took it, and they came back like full throttle. So I know Jenny probably thought I was crazy because I was emailing because I just needed like somebody to just verify that maybe I needed to do something a different way. So I went back and I started taking it, and I also started taking Epsom salt baths. And the twitching, like my muscles twitch. So the twitching has subsided a little bit. I know when I'm about to get palpitations because I'll start getting like a big mass twitching. Like all my muscles will start twitching, and then like maybe an hour later I'll have like all these skip beats.
Wow.
So since I've been taking the Remag along with the Epsom salt, it's calmed down a lot. I skip maybe twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. It really just depends. So I guess my question to you is, what can I do to just increase progression and not go back? And I don't want to go into a depression, because I took cardiovascular research LTD before I found your website, and I was so excited because for a week my palpitations went away. I felt good. I felt like a normal person, and then they came back. So basically, what can I do so that this doesn't repeat itself if possible? And is that even possible? Will it always come back, or like how? What do you think?
Okay, Kendall, did you have a chance to read our REMAG book, The Invisible Minerals, Part 1?
I read REMAG. I have one on my Kindle. I read REMAG, and I ordered the latest one, the AFib. That's the one I read. I read Magnesium Miracle, and I read the AFib one. And when I tell you, I literally skimmed through them in a week. So that's how scared I was. I was like, I have to crash and cram and get as much information in as possible because I thought I was losing my life. Like I felt like I was going to die.
Right. And that's.
I told my husband, like, tell the kids I love them. You know, like it was just
How old are you, Kendall? How old are you?
37.
So you've been dealing with this for 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's gonna, it's gonna take a little while to turn it around, and the problem is that when extra stress comes up, your body's going to react with some palpitations. But you have to stay strong. You have to, read that AFib book until you've memorized it, so you understand that, you'll be going like 3 steps forward and maybe 1 step back, because if you've been deficient in magnesium for 20 years, it's going to take a little while, and it may just be a month or so before you really, really know that you're on the mend. When you read in the AFib book, CB's story, I mean, she was in and out of things for a year, and I don't think she'd mind me saying that recently she had a bad cold, and she got a little bit of AFib back, and it was scary for her. And I just said it's like your the heart knows almost, or the heart, because it's learned how to have these skip beats, and that's what it'll go back to the skip beats when you're under a whole bunch of stress. And you've got to realize.
But it only did that. I never had that before. Like, this was the last 2 months. Like September and October was when this first started happening. Before that, I only would have like the fast beat, like all anxiety attacks.
Right. Well,
I never had
progression. It's a progression where, you go 20 years not getting your magnesium. It's going to go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And, it'll heal. It's not that you have a heart problem, you have a magnesium problem. And the fact that the cardiologists say it's all about the heart, even though, I mean, for them to say you can run a marathon, well, they've tested your heart, up and down and sideways, and they know it's strong. But, that's hard to take when you feel it thumping all over the place and being irregular. I know. That was my magnesium deficiency symptom, is heart palpitations. So, I know some of what you're going through. So, like I said, you've got to read the AFib book in terms of how to progress. How much REMAG are you taking right now, Kendall?
I take, in the morning, I take a teaspoon inside of a water bottle, and then at night I take another teaspoon. I just upgraded to that. At first I was taking a half in the morning and a half at night, and then 3/4 in the morning, 3/4 at night. Now I'm at a teaspoon in the morning and a teaspoon at night.
Right. Well, that's good. And are you putting the salt in your water, sea salt in the water?
I used the pink Himalayan salt, but then I'm glad I got you on the phone, because I was like, how do I know that this is authentic Himalayan salt? Like, I just got it like out of Ross or something. Like, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't using like some type of fake product.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, heaven forbid, there's so much stuff out there. But if it's pink, that's a good sign that it's got minerals in it. If you get it at a decent health food store, or you get it at Vitacost.com. I mean, you're at the stage where you don't trust anything. Let's face it. And it's okay to question, and it's okay, to email Ginny. She never has a problem with people who email a lot, because she knows that she can answer the questions, and then you'll get to the point where you're doing better and better. And the thing about REMAG, the way you're doing it, already on 2 teaspoons, that's great, because your body may need 2-3 teaspoons, and as your stores get slowly built up, and so that you're getting back to what your body really wants in terms of the magnesium. But the next stage may be to add the Remite, because when you've had 20 years of magnesium deficiency, it's possible your other minerals could be deficient. And that's why we do the sea salt, so we get the sodium to your adrenal glands, because the anxiety comes from your adrenals pumping out all this adrenaline, and you need your magnesium and your sodium, and you need B vitamins. And that's where our Realign comes in for the B vitamins, the methylated B vitamins. So, you've got a little more that you can do to help yourself. But, just, I'm here to reassure you that what I write is to reassure you. You can phone in the show every week, tell us how you're doing, so that, you'll realize that you're slowly going to get better. This is not a drug that's going to hit you over the head and you're going to wake up tomorrow and everything's gone. You've been 20 years causing this, so it is going to take, like I said, a month to really know that you're on the right track. And you just have to be kind of trusting of the process and patient. People with anxiety, it's very hard. I mean, sometimes I was Facebooking back with someone in private messages, and, he was just so freaked out because, when you have fear and anxiety, you just don't trust anything. And what happens with the magnesium is it wakes up so many of your different pathways in the body. It's like your arm that gets numb when you hang it over the back of a chair, and the arm is waking up and it feels worse than when it was numb. Well, parts of your body are waking up, and it's freaking you out because it's a change. Now, I just wanted to go back. Which cardiovascular research product were you taking?
The one with the taurine in it. It was it just says magnesium taurine. Magnesium taurine.
Yeah.
And it was working. I felt so good. And then all of a sudden, one day I was laying in the bed, and it just started happening again. And when I get my pouch, it's like all night long.
Well, tell me, how many of the magnesium taurate did you work up to?
2.
How many were you taking?
I was taking 2 at a time. I was taking 1 in the morning and 1 at night. No, 3, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 at night.
All right. Okay, so that's 125 milligrams of magnesium taurate. That's just going to give you, 375, and you probably need more like 600, even 900. A teaspoon is 300. You're taking 2 teaspoons, so you're getting 600. So the magnesium taurate at 325, it's like your body woke up that morning and said, "I want more. You're just teasing me. You're not giving me enough, and I'm going to make you give me more." And instead, you got freaked out because you had what you thought your symptoms were back. And if it is just magnesium taurate 125, actually the amount of elemental magnesium is only 50 milligrams. So You hear what I'm saying?
It wasn't a lot.
It wasn't a lot. And then you take the 3 tablets, capsules, I should say, 125, and then you start opening up your 700, 800 pathways. You got them half open, and then you wake up the next morning, and it's not enough, and your body starts reacting because your body is doing a lot more than just keeping your muscles calm. It's helping your blood sugar and helping your brain neurotransmitters and helping your gut. So your body just said, "Hey, give me more," and I'm going to let you know I need more. But like you said, it just freaks you out. But I'm just telling you the mechanism of what happened.
Dr. Dean, also, they used to say that I had mitral prolapse, and then they changed it, and then they said, no, you don't. You don't have mitral prolapse. You have a slight leak. So I was reading up on mitral prolapse in one of your books, and it was saying how sometimes even after replenishing your magnesium, that could possibly be corrected. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did. What happens with the mitral valve, it's like a little TP. The way the valve is supposed to close, it's just like 2 flaps are supposed to close off. There's muscle in those flaps, and when you have magnesium deficiency, those flaps are very rigid and they don't close properly. And they'll be like either a prolapse or a bit of a leak. So once you get your magnesium and those muscles are working properly, they just kind of flap together like whatever, putty, and they close properly so they don't prolapse and they don't leak.
Okay. Wow.
So that's
that would be amazing. Because I know they said that all that stuff works together as far as like anxiety and panic attacks, mitral prolapse. It was saying all that stuff is linked together.
I know, and it's hard to believe. Doctors don't believe it. They don't take time to study it. They just poo-poo, and now you're learning. You know more than doctors do, and that should make you feel, strong and confident about your treatment program, right?
Absolutely, and may God bless you, because I'm glad that, you came along to even try to help people the proper way, unlike doctors who just want to medicate you. Because they did offer me metoprolol to try to suppress the skips, but I've always been that person that was like, no, what if these things weren't available? I still would have to try to heal it my own way. I've always been that person, so I really appreciate you and what you're doing. And if you ever need someone, to be a guinea pig, I'm here.
Well, you're doing it, and you're going to look at the Remite and the Remite book and look at the Realign to get those other factors going, and you're going to keep bugging Ginny and ask her all the questions you want. You're going to keep phoning into the radio show and telling us how fine you're doing, okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
Okay, Kendall. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Very good. Very good. Yes, God bless her little heart. She was on everything, Carolyn. She was Facebooking, tweeting. She was emailing. She was in such a panic. But God bless her. I just told her, I said, you call in on Monday, and you're going to feel so much better after you talk to Dr. Dean. So I'm so glad she did. And it's, again, just such a wonderful resource to have you available to talk to people. It's just really precious. Carolyn, Rachel sent us a testimonial that she wanted me to share on the air. She just sent it to me over the phone, so I'm going to read it to you, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. This is Rachel saying, I used to get flustered when I had a super busy day. After being on the complement formulas for about 3 months, I had an afternoon and an evening of crazy schedule and a long drive. And I got to my destination early and thought, great, I've got time to go to my favorite coffee shop and get a yummy decaf mocha. Yes, I've even kicked the caffeine habit too. I got back into my car and promptly dropped my car keys into my mocha. I looked up and saw a car. I looked up and saw a car waiting for my parking spot and shrugged inside. In the past, I would have come unglued and become so upset. But my new relax and allow outlook, I found a spoon, fished out my keys, continued to drink my mocha, giggled and thought, I'll be damned if I'm going to let this incident ruin my free time and my mocha. And I got to my destination on time. Thanks, Dr. Dean, for your products and helping me deal with what used to be really stressful situations. Isn't that sweet?
Oh. That is sweet. Of course, I would have taken it as a sign that maybe I shouldn't drink that coffee, but I'll just hold back. Not being a coffee drinker, that would be my reaction.
That's right. Well, she said it was decaf because she's kicked the caffeine coffee habit too.
Gotcha.
I just thought that was
decaf.
Yeah.
Good for her.
She was having
Thank you,
a
Rachel.
decaf
That's
mocha.
sweet.
Yeah, that was very sweet. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here at AchieveRadio.com. About 40 minutes left in our program this evening. Happy to take your calls and put you online with Dr. Dean if you're interested in talking with her this evening. 602-666-6027 is the number you call in. 602-666-6027. And when you get into the call bridge, you have to hit *5 on your keypad to put you on the phone with Dr. Dean, and then we will engage you, let you talk to her, and you can get the information you need. If you'd like to just quick a message or send one to support, SUPPORT at RNAreset.com. For those who are listening through the archives, we'll address your questions as we can. And let's see what else. So, Carolyn, I don't think we have any callers right now. Do we have a couple questions in the mailbag that you'd like to go over?
Sure. Well, you mentioned way at the introduction about the tips and tricks that I can share, and one thing came to mind that I told someone today. With the Renew, you know how people are trying to flick it out of the European dropper, or we tell them take the dropper out, and I tell people to take a toothpick and put it backwards and put the flat end in. But I also tell people to put that dropper tube Renew on the back of your hand. Put it there as your little shelf, and then use your finger to put it on your face where you want the Renew. But then what's left on the back of your hand, you rub it in, because it's the back of the hands that you know, show the age spots and the wrinkles. So that's a little tip. And yes, we continue to work on getting a better bottle and dropper for you. That'll be coming in the new year. So please hang in there. And we didn't do our blog talk spot, Ginny. Do you want me to quickly go over that or hit that next week?
Yeah. No. Let's do it. Yes, absolutely. Great blogs this week. Such good information. Let's do.
Right. The more recent one was overdiagnosing ADHD. And actually, yes, this is very important. They're saying an alarming 11% of U.S. children are being diagnosed as ADHD, and they don't know why. I mean, I don't know what doctors think is going on, that all these things just come out of thin air, and I think it's because they just want to have one diagnosis so they can have a drug treatment for it, and that's what they do. Diagnosis usually leads to a drug that you can treat, and then the doctors move on to the next little patient. And in the blog, which you can find on drcarolyndean.com, my home website, I'm talking about the statistics and talking about how they're diagnosing children with so many mental and developmental disorders. And I think if you put them all together, you know, there's so many children that are affected, and we do have to look at the reasons, and the reasons I've written about and I've come up with, and the treatment I've come up with addresses poor diet, yeast overgrowth, magnesium deficiency, zinc and selenium deficiency, B vitamin deficiency, mercury toxicity from vaccines and dental fillings. And I say outright, I mean, I'm becoming more and more blatant about the complement formulas because we find them so beneficial. But with the REMAG, of course, you're hitting the magnesium deficiency and helping the yeast toxins break down. With the REMITE, you've got your zinc and selenium and iodine for the thyroid. You've got Realign with the methylated B vitamins and the precursors to glutathione, and the RNA drops, which have their own special effect. And what a blog reader sent me, let me see if I can find, she said about this blog, wow, you hit the nail on the head with my son who's recently diagnosed with ADHD at age 15, which is late. We thought he was lazy when it came to schoolwork because he can master a video game in record time. She said, we do work, because I said, you know, parents are working and the kids don't get much attention, but she said, our son gets lots of attention and he takes Taekwondo to keep his physicality going. His favorite subject is gym, but he's driving me crazy with what I called tics and repetitive movements. It's very difficult, she says, for her to sit next to him without wanting to pull out her hair. So she's taking REMAG. He cracks his knuckles and joints on every part of his body over and over and over. I said it's not normal, but he insists on doing it. Drives me nuts. And he's also a nail biter, which when you bite your nail, sometimes that's looking for minerals. The more I complain, the more he does it. Yeah, kids know how to push buttons. She says, I squeeze in magnesium and zinc and probiotics when I can, but he resists that too. I'm happy to say he's not on any drugs, and I have no intention of putting him on any. She says, I'm pushing a healthy diet. He does like some good things, but he pushes them out with bread. Everything at school is some sort of bagel or bread, or when I see frozen yogurt, which is just ice cream with sprinkles and a side of whipped cream, she's pulling her hair out again. And she says, yes, I know I should put my foot down, but if it only were that easy. He may have to get sick like me one day with Hashimoto's, then he'll wake up. So I said, you know, you can put your son on REMAG and it will really help him. Also REMITE to protect his thyroid. Just try to drown the minerals in juice or a smoothie is even better. He will ask for the minerals because they'll start helping him so quickly. And if you can get him into a bath, put in 2 cups of Epsom salts. And then I asked if I could use her words on my radio show, and she said, yes, of course. So that's what's happening with the kids out there is they are magnesium and mineral deficient just like the adults, and they do need their nutrients. But parents do have a difficult time getting these kids eating properly. But invariably, all the families that I've treated, the parents say at a certain point the kids are begging for their minerals. So I know this kid will turn around. And the second blog of the week was should doctors be tested for competence at age 65? That's coming up now in Medscape. The bureaucracy of telling a doctor who's maybe in his or her prime that they should quit work. But, of course, I took it deeper and said, well, what about all doctors being tested for competence? Because I see failure everywhere. I said doctors have fallen into a system of practicing medicine that is not serving their patients. You all know what I'm talking about. 7-minute appointments, primary care docs who are just drug dispensers or serving as referral robots for specialists, expensive health care insurance that only covers drugs and surgery and does not cover healthy options like natural supplements. Many doctors don't like being a cog in the wheel of modern medicine any more than patients. Obamacare keeps decreasing their salaries to help balance the budget. They're forced to see far more patients than is reasonably safe. Their surgical referrals have to be approved by non-medical gatekeepers. They're employees, not independent professionals. So I just, again, talk about the REMAG and REMITE and how people can stay out of the hands of the medical system if they do that. And actually, I have a case. You should really go to this blog and read it. It's a nurse, a retired nurse, who gives my book to anybody she thinks is interested. And one of her doctor friends asked her about magnesium. He was on a statin drug, but he developed peripheral neuropathy and wondered about taking a different drug called Zetia, Zetia, and wondered if it would be better. And I looked it up, of course, as I do any drug, and it's a fluoride drug. So he would be worse on that because it's going to bind up his magnesium and perhaps cause more peripheral neuropathy and even ruptured tendons. So doctors really don't know. I'm writing a blog right now. My massage therapist told me about a new patient of his who's a doctor, and my massage therapist is an Egoscue practitioner as well, so he assessed this doctor's gait and his joints and his alignment, and he complained of knee pain, and the therapist said, well, the problem is in your hips, and that's what we have to work on. He said, oh, no, my hips are fine. I just had both of them replaced, so everything's just fine. So I will wait for Ginny to guff at that incredible statement.
I know. I was just like, oh, my God.
I know. Oh, my hips are fine. I just had them replaced. It's like, yeah, and you had them replaced because they were in bad shape, and they had, whatever, 30 years to throw your knees and your ankles out of alignment. So yeah, we've got problems in our medical system, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, he talks about he talks about his hips like they're broken dishes. Oh, I replaced those.
Yeah, very good. Good point.
Oh my Lord. Okay. Jeez. Okay, and did you get to the third one too?
Did I have a third one? I think we talked about the edema.
We did. Okay, yeah, we did.
Yeah,
I know, but I love it so much. We've sent it out to hundreds of people. So, but it's really, really fantastic. I mean, it is really, really a fantastic overview of information. Okay, very good. Let me get to a couple in-quicks, and we'll check our phone lines and then see what we're doing with our mailbag. Again, if you're listening this evening, you'd like to talk to Dr. Dean, 602-666-6027 is the phone number, and then you've got to hit star 5 on your keypad. Star 5 on your keypad raises your hand here in the studio and lets me know you want to talk to Dr. Dean, and we will put her on the line with you. And let's see, Rachel in California. I started to suspect that my RNA drops were too old a few weeks ago, as I was noticing my nails were chipping more. So when I ordered my last RNA drops, it occurred to me that now I have fresh drops. Should I start at a lower dose with the fresh bottle?
Yes, we do have that FAQ on the RNA Reset website that if you've been off them, for more than a week, then it's good to slowly build up again, because the generation that you're getting will be different from the generation that you finished off with. And depending on where you were at, maybe you go back to a third of what you were taking and start there, and then every week add a couple of drops. So
very good. And also for osteoporosis, Carolyn, what do you think? Are we looking at magnesium and REMITE for that as well?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
the magnesium is even more important than calcium for the bones. For calcium, you can read the Remite book, learn how to make bone broth for your calcium, or take fermented dairy. And you'll usually, with a diet where you can take fermented dairy, you can get enough calcium in your diet. So that's a place to start, as well as any form of exercise. I mean, they used to say it had to be weight-bearing, and it had to be this, had to be that. Well, when you're walking, you're bearing the weight of your body, and that's weight-bearing enough. So anything you can do by way of exercise is going to help your bones.
Very good. Excellent. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Let's go to area code 404. Area code 404, which is in the great state of Georgia. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Oh, hi, it's Catherine. I'm here in Maui with a bad connection. Can you hear me?
Oh, my gosh. So you're right next door, and I can barely hear you compared with people who call from China?
I'm walking around in haiku trying to find a better place.
Well, I can sort of hear you. Thanks for calling. What's up, Catherine?
Well, I have a friend. I keep sending all my friends. I have a young friend, 32, who has developed all of the symptoms that, in my great medical wisdom, sound to me a lot like Guillain-Barré. A weakness in legs and arms, and numbness and tingling around her head. All of these things, and I'm just, and she has no insurance, and there are no real neurologists on Maui. So do you have any suggestion, and would it be helpful if I could share the products with her?
Well, the products would certainly be helpful, not detrimental in any way. And what you could do is take her to my chiropractor, naturopath, Michael Morrison.
Okay.
He's in Kihei. Let me I'm trying to.
I'm walking around right now. Maybe I can email to you.
Yes,
Carolyn, I have that information. Yeah. I can send it to Catherine. Just email me, Catherine.
Okay. Now, the unfortunate thing is she has no money, but, I'll help her such as I can, but so it would be worth checking with him and seeing if he can do some realignment.
Yes, with Guillain-Barré, that can be a viral. He'll be able to muscle test her to see if some antiviral homeopathics would help. I think it would be, the best place for her to go right at this minute.
Yeah, it's very sad because it's really debilitating. Of course, it's just come on in the last few weeks after she had a very strenuous day. But I think, is there an element of stress that's probably involved in that? An emotional?
Yes, I mean, I don't. I mean, you're saying it's Guillain-Barré, and I don't know, but.
Well, of course, I throwing that out. Right. We get online and all the things are out there. And make up
but what happens with people is if they're mineral deficiency, especially magnesium deficient, and they burn the candle at both ends, and they're really stressed out, and the adrenal glands can't support them anymore. And that's where we used to say people were having a nervous breakdown, and your muscles just get weak and twitchy, and your heart pounds, and that can cover a multitude of ills, but there's really no way of telling. And I know when I worked with chronic fatigue and AIDS in New York, everybody had all the viruses. So it's like when you're run down, the viruses kind of take hold. So it's important for her to get to someone who can do some testing. Viral testing by doctors is extremely expensive.
I think she did.
Helpful.
It seems to me she did go to the emergency room, and they may have tested her for that. I'm not sure. I'll have to check, but that's good to know. She is going to see a Dr. Myers in Kula tomorrow. So. But I like the idea of seeing Morrison. I'm a proponent of all of those things, getting that kind of alignment first.
Right.
And I'll
okay, Catherine, well, good luck to you and to her. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, we appreciate so much all of your good time with us. Thank you. And aloha.
Aloha and mahalo.
Yes.
Oh, very good. Bye, Catherine. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, very good. Here we are, Carolyn. It's about 15 minutes to the top of the hour. Do we have a few questions we want to answer before we wrap up the show?
Okay, of course. Usually at the beginning, but we had such a long beginning statement about the product usage. I usually mention the Magnesium Miracle book. It's still the #1 bestseller under vitamins and supplements, and it's got 499 reviews. So let's see who can be the 500th review. So I'm just, very, very happy with this book. And as I've said before, Random House has asked for the next edition, which will be out in 2017, and it just shows what a good selling book it is, because they wouldn't do that if it wasn't making them money, for this. I don't know if it's a $13, $14 book. What is it? Here it is. $13.99 on Kindle. Good grief! It's more expensive on Kindle. The paperback is only $10.52. So, what happens in the publishing industry, and this is why they're just top heavy and going broke. The author of these books gets like $1 or less than $1 per book royalty. And the rest of all that they make on the book goes to paying, the salary of way too many people to create these published books. And the whole Kindleization of the publishing industry is making them all bankrupt. Because you do a Kindle book, you don't have to print it up. You're not killing trees. It's actually even more lucrative to do Kindle books for a publisher than paperback, because you can't really share your Kindles. Paperback, you can give it, to one friend after another, and they can read it for free. So, anyway, that's my little rant on the publishing industry. But thank you very much for buying the book, and make sure you get lots of copies for Christmas and holiday presents for all your friends. Thank you very much.
Very good. Correct.
And here's a neat little testimonial. Someone says, I'd like to let you know that several weeks after taking your Remag, my craving for milk chocolate has disappeared. Just thought you might find that of interest. I only crave good quality chocolate, not cheap stuff. No idea whether the cheap stuff contains magnesium, but thought you might find the info of interest. Yes, it seems to be all about magnesium, where if you're low in magnesium, your body kind of senses that it's in chocolate, so you crave chocolate. So I thought that was a cute little testimonial. The next one, let's see. I think this might be a long one, but that's fine. This woman says, I started taking Remag 10 days ago. I'm up to 1 teaspoon a day at this time. 3 days ago, I began taking the Remite also, up to 1/2 teaspoon, putting it in a liter of water. And she says, unfortunately, I'm experiencing pain in my stomach. Years ago, I had gastritis. It feels much like that, burning in the stomach. I had a stool test last December that showed I did not have SIBO, which is the bowel imbalance of bacteria. So she did not have SIBO, parasites, or leaky gut. She's grain-free, sugar-free, fluoride-free because she has Hashimoto's. She's desperate to regain her health. She hoped the Remite might kick her thyroid into gear. So she's mainly wondering about this burning. And I emailed her back and I said, I can see that you're determined to get well. Remag and Remite are very concentrated minerals. I know we suggest to sip through the day, but you might try taking a quarter teaspoon of the Remag and a quarter Remite in a few ounces of water along with food to buffer the concentrated minerals. So that's something that we really haven't talked about much, Ginny, because I don't think many people have said that the minerals burn their stomach, but there must be something in her stomach that's trying to heal where the minerals are just focusing. And I told her to look, even if she doesn't have SIBO, to look at yeast detox because it usually with gastritis, you can have this yeast overgrowth. I suggested Prescript Assist as the best probiotic to take. So now she's saying, getting back to me, wondering how she could have yeast overgrowth when she doesn't eat bread or sugar or drink beer, even limits her fruits. But then she says in her teens and early 20s, she had many yeast infections and always had to take diflucan anytime she took antibiotics. And I said, especially with this past history, a lot of women are partially treated with diet, but there is usually more going on intestinally. I told her just, again, to switch to Prescript Assist when she told me she was just on a lactobacillus, which I consider pretty weak. Told her to eat more garlic, drink Padarco tea, P-A-U, next word D''ARCO. It's a very good antifungal tea. And she said she'd research yeast overgrowth, fill out the questionnaire. She says she's really believing that the complement formulas that I developed are going to make a difference in her health. And she said while she was praying, she saw that she'd be healed on a molecular level. And then she read that I talk about the cellular level, and she says the molecular probably fits the Remag and Remite as well. So she's very excited that she's going to experience a healing, and I'm sure she will. Especially, when we're able to fine-tune people, and it means people have to get in touch. We can't help you unless you ask us the questions. So it's just fabulous, the number of questions we get that we can help people with. So, Ginny, will I go on to the next mailbag?
Yes, but let me ask real quick also, can you say the name of the tea again?
Padarco, capital P-A-U, space, D''ARCO. It's the bark of a tree that grows in Brazil that won't let fungus grow on it. So the natives realized it could be used to treat fungal infections.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. It was promoted for a while as an anti-cancer drug, but, I just use it as an antifungal recommendation.
Where do you get it? Do you just order it online?
Health food stores sometimes carry it, but yes, online. Let's look and see if VitaCost has it. Traditional Medicinals has it. There are capsules of it, but I'd rather people just take it as a tea. So traditional medicinals, teas, they seem to have it.
All right, very good. And also, if a person has they've been using Remag for a while, but they have candida, or they know that they do, yeast overgrowth. They have all the symptoms, but they're not addressing it by using the yeast detox and killing off the yeast. I mean, is that going to suppress their RBC score, or are they going to have a difficult time rebuilding? Okay, very good.
Those yeast toxins, the almost subclinical yeast toxins, are going to be burning off some of their magnesium. Absolutely.
Very good. All right,
and,
excellent.
You know, it's in my yeast book. I'm going to really focus on the kind of the undertreatment of yeast, or this partial treatment, where people don't realize that they've limited all their yeast-producing foods because they feel bad when they eat sugar or drink alcohol or eat too much fruit. They feel worse. They get gassy and bloated, and they just sort of unconsciously almost cut back. So they're partially starving their yeast, but they still have yeast. And then, like you say, the yeast toxins have to be broken down and will burn off some of their magnesium.
Very good. Okay, excellent. All right, Carolyn, yes, more questions, please, for the mailbag.
Yes. A woman says, this must be Kendall. Yeah, well, maybe not. I'm 47. I have fibromyalgia, anxiety, and chronic pain, and a low quality of life. I'm on the Remag and Remite, and Realign is on the way. I'm determined to win this battle. I love it when people say that, because that gives me hope that they'll get through this. But listen, she's on 7 medications for depression, anxiety, and fibro. Health has been bad, but has been improving over the years. Just found Remag. Do I need to do Empower Plus and the accompanying supplements they recommend, or wait and see what the Remag has in store for me? I don't want to overdo it, but I don't want to underestimate the situation. Please advise. I've been like this for 24 years. I mean, that's a huge case, but it's almost standard for what we see. So I'm pretty sure I don't have my answer to her in front of me, but with fibromyalgia, it's 50% magnesium deficiency and 50% yeast overgrowth. Anxiety is mostly magnesium deficiency. Chronic pain is magnesium, and also, the poor alignment and the lack of exercise, all wrapped in together. Because when you have pain, you don't want to exercise, and then you make the pain worse. And I just told her, go on keep on the Remag and Remite, slowly build it up, and start improving yourself. Empower Plus, I recommend more for manic depression rather than the depression that you get from, being in pain and having fibromyalgia and the fatigue that comes with it and the anxiety. So the Empower Plus is not, the minerals in it are not as well absorbed in any way like Remag and Remite. So it's best to start with Remag and Remite in her case, I said. So I'll, hopefully she'll keep in touch with us, because that's quite an intense case. And this is my last one here, and we're almost done anyway. Yes, this question we might have covered in the guidelines, and she wondered how to drop from a therapeutic dose of Remite to a maintenance dose. Now, the Remite really doesn't have a therapeutic dose. As I mentioned, I just say on the label to take 1.5 teaspoons. You might go up to 2 teaspoons, but just stay in that range. I don't recommend more of that, because, as I said earlier, if you're looking to increase, one or more of those minerals, you don't want to increase all of them. You just want to slowly build up those minerals, and that will happen. we're not after a quick fix here. And then she said she wondered if I had some insight on iron and the body's need for it, etc. Well, with the iron, it depends on your age. Usually women just need iron if they're still menstruating, and with the iron, I just tell people to go to the angstrom iron for best absorption. I don't write a lot about iron because it can be problematic. People who take iron supplements can actually develop iron overload conditions, and if you're not a vegetarian, the best way to get iron is by taking your meat medium rare, and that has usually enough iron for the average person. So, yeah, I don't talk a lot about iron. I consider it more a specialized topic rather than the generalized topics that I deal with. So I think that's about as much as I'll say about that, and we'll give Bob 1 minute to say goodbye. He's grabbing for his phone to touch the mute button. What do you got to say, Bob?
Nothing. Just another good show.
Yeah.
And I appreciate Jenny's assistance.
Yes.
And hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Look at Bob being a gentleman. How about that?
What's wrong with Bob?
Just being different, quadrophenia.
You're being different, huh, Bob? Okay. Thanksgiving is until next week, Bob. What are we going to be doing on payday this weekend? Or don't you have a What You show, or putting out some?
Oh, yeah, all shows go on. I personally ignore holidays. I never celebrate them. I do not have any family to engage them or any relatives. I stick to the transcension position. There's no time, and there's no day, and there's no space, and there's no holidays. It's all good constantly.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. All right, so you'll be on payday and all the rest.
Yes, I recommend everybody become like me.
Uh-oh.
Well, I was very disappointed to hear we couldn't become like you, tonight, so.
I didn't say that. I just said you don't have to become like me, but you will learn to love me and tolerate me if you take the drops. And then you will unwittingly become like me if you don't notice it.
All right, very good. Excellent show, Carolyn. Thank you. Great content. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bill. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, Ginny. Thanks, Bob. And thanks, Bill. And thanks all the listeners and the people who called in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, excellent show. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.
Psychic